So before starting my talk, let us understand between the emission and transmission scans. So all radiology procedures involve use of radiation, like for CT scan or X-ray machine. So in this, the X-ray source is placed outside the body of the patient. The rays are transmitted to the patient's body, and the images are detected on the detector opposite to the X-ray radiation source. Hence the images are formed. But in nuclear medicine, what we do, the radiopharmaceuticals injected into the patient body, and after going into the patient body, rays are emitted from the patient's body, and those are detected. So that is the basic difference between the CT, that is the transmission scan, and nuclear medicine, which are the emission scan. So this is the pictorial depiction of the PET and CT. It has both CT and the PET crystals. So these are mechanically fused into a single gantry. So this is how PET CT machine looks like. So radioactive materials which are used or which are administered to the patient are the radiopharmaceuticals. They have got two components. One is the chemical molecule which determines the path or the target of the radiopharmaceutical into the body, and the radionuclide which emits the radiation and which we detect or which we use for diagnosis as well as for the therapy. So coming to the PET CT, so all the applications in nuclear medicine or in PET CT depend upon the use of the radiopharmaceutical. There are n number of radiopharmaceuticals are available, but because of logistic reasons, we are able to use only a few of them. So F18FDG is the fluorodeoxyglucose, is the most common, is the magic molecule which we use in PET CT. So this is a normal structure of the glucose. When you remove this hydroxy moiety from the glucose and you replace with the radionuclide F18, then this becomes a radioactive glucose. Mechanism of uptake of FDG in any cell of the body: normal glucose enters into the cell, then it enters into the mitochondria and undergoes the Krebs cycle. But because of structural change in the F18 FDG, it does not enter the mitochondria. Hence it is trapped into the cell, so it does not undergo the Krebs cycle. So there are n number of applications for F18 FDG and PET CT, but major chunk of our work is from oncology. It is used for diagnosis, staging, assessing the response, to detect the recurrence, and to differentiate between the recurrence from the necrotic or any other idiomatous changes. Another, in cardiology, it is used to assess for myocardial viability, that is to identify the hibernating viable myocardium. Other major indication is infection inflammation imaging, and some part of neurology also can be used. So why FDG PET CT is investigation of choice in oncology? Basically because PET assesses the physiology. So PET CT is a physiologic image, not a morphologic image. So all the diseases can be picked up very early in the course of the diseases, and it is easy to differentiate between the structural distortions mainly in the post-operative setting. Whole body imaging helps in identification of the distant site of metastasis in cancer. Because it's a physiological imaging, the uptake in the cancer can tell you about the grading of the cancer, which helps in prognostication, and it also can be used for response to therapy. So these are some of the examples. So this is a lesion in hypopharynx with metastatic lymph node on the ipsilateral left side. Along with that, this is a whole body image of the PET CT. You can see multiple other black spots in the whole body. So these corresponds to the, here there's a, you are not able to see, there's a lymph node, bony metastasis in upper dorsal vertebrae, this one, and there's a metastatic lesion is seen in the liver. This is another case of unknown primary with metastatic right cervical lymph node. On the CT scan, you can see that there's an enhancing lesion seen in the right level to cervical region, but rest of the CT scan looks normal. But if you see a PET scan, there's an intense uptake seen in the right tonsillolingual sulcus. So it being a physiological imaging, lesions can be picked up much before any structural abnormality.
So the metastatic lesions, there is increased uptake of this.
Yeah.
What is the mechanism behind this enhancing?
Because of increased metabolism or increased cell division, so they require more amount of glucose for the metabolism. So that's why they take up this glucose, and these glucose are tagged with the isotope. So those isotope will go there, they trap there, and they will emit radiation, which are picked up. Now, if you see in this case, this is a treated case of lung malignancy. This is a pre-treatment, this is post-treatment scan. If you see only the CT scan, the mass is still there. But if you see the PET CT, this yellow thing, that is the uptake is not there. So this is a case of complete metabolic regression. Only the structural disease is still left behind, which will take time to regress.
This is enhancing. Left side is enhancing.
This is positive. all the red thing, yellow thing is all positive. So this is another case. PET CT can also be used for RT planning. You can, this is a large mass is seen in the lung, but you can target only the active part. The rest of the part outside the red area is the collapsed lung. So you can differentiate between the inactive and active part of the lesion. It is used. It can be used for lymphoma staging. This is a stage 4 disease with multiple lymph nodes on either side of the diaphragm. It is used for response assessment. This is a pre-treatment study, the post-treatment study with complete disappearance of the disease. It can also pick up it being the synchronous or metachronous malignancies because it is an whole body imaging. So this lesion is seen in the left focal mucosa, and the lesion is seen in the lung. So this is a metachronous malignant lesions. So despite having said all this, sensitivity and specificity of FDG PET CT is not ideal for all the tumors, lesions or the cancers like prostate, hepatocellular carcinoma, paraganglioma, neuroendocrine tumors, and mucinous carcinoma are some of the few which have less avidity for FDG, and hence they have got less sensitivity in these cases. Also, physiological uptake in some of the organs, post-inflammatory uptake, and high glucose serum levels obscure identification of the lesions. So this is the place where we look beyond FDG. So there's some of the examples. This is hepatocellular carcinoma left lobe of the liver. You see there is absolutely no uptake into the lesion. This is a case of paraganglioma in the right paravertebral region. These are the sclerotic metastasis of the prostate gland. These all lesions do not show any FDG uptake. So what is beyond FDG? As I said already, there is n number of other radiopharmaceuticals available, but in our clinical practice, other radiopharmaceuticals which we use are gallium PSMA for prostate and gallium dotanak for neuroendocrine tumors. So gallium PSMA binds to this PSMA receptor on the extracellular. This is the target, the extracellular domain of the receptor on the prostatic cancer cell. So the PSMA radiopharmaceutical goes and binds to this extracellular domain. This example, the prostatic. So if you see the images of the PSMA PET scan, these images are very crisp. It has got a very high tumor to background ratio. So any small lesion in millimeter size can be picked up with PSMA PET CT. So this is a mass lesion is seen in the prostate. The very small sub-centimeter size lymph node is seen in the right obturator region. So this is a metastatic lymph node. This is the case with disseminated metastasis to multiple vertebrae of prostatic malignancy. This is a postoperative case of CA prostate. In the postoperative, in this image, there is some soft tissue lesion is seen at the operative site, adjacent to the hyperdense metallic clips. Now it is very difficult to differentiate only on the CT if there is an active disease is there or not. But on PSMA, the intense tracer uptake at the operative site suggests to be an active viable neoplastic disease. Also, PSMA PET can pick up any bone marrow metastasis much before any structural abnormality on the CT images. Coming to gallium DOTA, somatostatin receptors are abundantly present on the surface of the neuroendocrine tumors. So they provide a unique and specific molecular target for the DOTA PET CT scan. So it is used to localize unknown primary in a metastatic disease. It is used for staging. It is used to determine the somatostatin receptor status, and these are the patients who are likely to benefit from the Optotec therapy. We can also select the patient with metastatic disease, and we can subject them to PRRT. PRRT is peptide radioreceptor radionuclide therapy. It is used only in the metastatic disease of neuroendocrine tumors. Of course, it also can be used for follow-up of the patient.
You decide about this type of radiopharmaceutical depending upon the type of malignancy?
Yeah, we depend upon histology. It should be well differentiated neuroendocrine tumor, then only we can use this. In high-grade neuroendocrine tumor, the sensitivity of DOTA goes down. The sensitivity of the FDG increases. So in grade 3 or grade 2, sometimes we have to do both the scans to look for the heterogeneity of the receptors into the cells, and then we can decide upon the treatment. So this is a case of metastatic lesions into the liver. The primary is seen into the tail of the pancreas. Very small primary is seen. This is a very different sets of metastasis in the patient. These are unusual sites of metastasis into the myocardium and into the pericardium of neuroendocrine tumors. Coming to Pyrex of unknown region. So PET CT in infection inflammation, the mechanism of uptake is into the inactivated inflammatory cells because they predominantly metabolize glucose as the source of energy. In stimulated state, inflammatory cells such as neutrophils and macrophages express high concentrations of glucose transporters that facilitate the movement of FDG through the cell membrane. Multiple cytokines and growth factors actively enhance the affinity of the glucose transporters in inflammatory cells for the deoxyglucose. So there are many infectious conditions which can be picked up on PET-CT. Here are some of the examples. This is the case of tuberculosis. The lesions are seen in the lung with pleural effusion. Intense degree FDG uptake is seen in the peritoneum with multiple bilateral cervical and axillary lymph node. So the intense degree uptake is in the peritoneum. All the peritoneum is studied with TB. This case of active portal vein thrombosis, infected portal vein thrombosis. Again, a case of tuberculosis where cavitary lesions are seen in the lung along with pleural effusion. Multiple abscess, disseminated abscess is seen into the intermuscular plane of the muscles. Uptake is seen in the muscles of the thighs as well. It can also FDG can also be used for the response to a treatment. This is a baseline. Before the treatment, the lesions are seen into the neck and into the axillary region. This is a post-treatment scan where there is no any uptake in the lesions. This is a case of infected prosthesis in the spine. The intense uptake is seen at the lower end of the spine. This is a case of infected prosthesis in the right hip joint. Intense degree uptake, pressure uptake is seen in the periarticular region or the periprosthetic region along with the inflammatory node in the pelvis. The same patient with infected prosthesis in the coronal view. So case of again infected prosthesis in the right hip joint with spondylodiscitis. This is a case of aortic vascular wall infection. The intense degree uptake is seen into the graft. So there are other inflammatory conditions which pick up FDG, and it can be used for the diagnosis and for response assessment. This is a case of vasculitis. Intense degree uptake is seen along the entire length of the aorta as well as the subclavian veins. So these are cross-sectional images. Uptake in the ascending aorta, descending aorta, arch of aorta. This is a sagittal view. The entire length of the aorta shows intense degree pressure uptake. So this is a case of vasculitis. This is a case of sarcoidosis. The pre-treatment study and the post-treatment study, there is significant regression in the disease. The intense degree pressure uptake is seen into the large bowel, and on biopsy it suggests to be ulcerative colitis. This is a case of again inflammatory arthritis in the right knee joint. Effusion, there is effusion is seen along with that uptake is seen in the effusion in the periarticular region. Same patient in the coronal view. This is a case of rheumatoid arthritis with uptake in the shoulder as well as the hip joint. So these are cases of active inflammation of rheumatoid arthritis. This is the patient with intense degree uptake in the subcutaneous tissue. This is a case of panniculitis. So coming to the role of FDG PET in cardiac viability. So it is used, mainly FDG PET is used to differentiate between the viable, that is hibernating myocardium, from that of the scar. So it is indicated in the patient with LV dysfunction due to coronary artery disease and who are eligible for coronary revascularization. So only the patient with viable myocardium will benefit from the revascularization. So chronic decline in the blood flow leads to hibernating myocardium. These cells have preserved cellular integrity. However, they have decreased contractility to reduce the energy consumption. So these are the cells, or these are the segments of the myocardium who are high likely to which have high likelihood of reach full functional recovery after revascularization. So under normal circumstances, myocardial cells use long-chain fatty acids as the preferred source of metabolic substrate. But in anaerobic condition, that is ischemic state, the myocardial cells use glucose as the primary source of energy. So active glucose uptake into the myocardial tissue is also mediated by insulin secretion. And in our study, the myocardial glucose uptake is stimulated by glucose load and use of IV insulin. So this is a very important part of the patient population. So whenever you do cardiac viability scan, we always do a perfusion scan. And perfusion scan is done on gamma camera with technetium 19nm system. And after that, we do a FDG PET. And both these studies are resting study. We don't do stress because patient is already in dysfunction. And we don't intend to look for a stress-induced ischemia. We want to look for only for the viable myocardium. So this on the first row are the perfusion images, and second row are the metabolic, that is FDG images. In these perfusion images, if you see there, we should see a circular yellow ring, but we are seeing some defects over there. So these are the segments of the myocardium where there is no perfusion. on the perfusion images. But if you do FDG PET, if you see some significant uptake in those hypoperfused or those defective segments, then these are the segments of viable myocardium. So these are the patients who will benefit from revascularization. However, in this case, this defect do not show any uptake even on FDG. So these are the segments of the myocardium which are scarred. So these patients do not benefit from the revascularization. Coming to use of FDG in the cardiac infection inflammation imaging, it is used for the diagnosis of inflammation, to assess the disease activity, that is to extent of the disease. It is also used for response treatment, prognosis, and identification of the extra cardiac sites of infection. So in infection inflammation of the cardiac imaging, the patient preparation is the most important and is the most difficult task which we face in our practice. So in viability, what we saw, we use glucose and insulin to push glucose into the myocardium. But in this case, we have to stop or you have to block the use of the glucose by the myocardium, basically to reduce the physiological myocardial glucose uptake. So this is done by like we have to prepare the patient with high fat and low carbohydrate diet at least 24 hours before the study. So for this 24 hours, patient should not consume more than 3 grams of carbohydrate, and they should at least consume more than 35 grams of fat in this term. So these are the various methods which can be used. Basically, patient has to fast at least for the literature say at least for 18 years, but we should there's a variation between 12 to 18 hours. Patient should be given high fat and low carbohydrate diet. And sometimes we can also use heparin. Heparin is injected at least 15 to 20 minutes before the injection of FDG. Heparin basically increases the free fatty acid levels in the blood, and hence the substrate level of the plasma is increased to the free fatty acid. So myocardium will take more of free fatty acid and less of glucose. Also, we can combine all the three methods and can be used. So the combination of all the three methods gives better results. So these are some of the dietary requirements, like patients should consume more of fat like oil, eggs, and less of carbohydrates. And fasting is also very important. So this is the importance of the adequate patient preparation, because patient preparation determines the image. If you see on the left side, the patient is properly prepared. There is absolutely no any black spots seen in the region of heart. So there is no any uptake of the glucose of the heart. So hence you are able to see a nice infected prosthesis in the image. But on the right hand side, the intense uptake is seen in the by the heart of the glucose. So there is the lesion or the infected prosthesis obscured in the images. So it is very important to we have such kind of image with absolutely no uptake of glucose into myocardium. So this is the image of cardiac sarcoidosis with intense degree pressure uptake in the septum, left ventricle as well as in the right ventricle. Extra cardiac sites of infection or inflammation is seen into the para region of the lung, and intense degree FDG uptake into the inflamed subcarinal lymph node. This is a case with focal uptake is seen in the interventricular septum. Now you see in the image, this is the heart. So again, absolutely there is no any glucose uptake in the heart. So the inflamed part of the myocardium is nicely picked up in the interventricular septum. Extra cardiac lesions are seen in the thorax as well as into the upper abdomen. This is a case of pre-treatment and post-treatment for sarcoidosis. There's a pre-prednisolone and post-prednisolone. There is significant regression in tracer uptake, so this take good response to the treatment. The case with an infected valve into the myocardium, intense degree tracer uptake is seen in this valve. Thank you.